I often get questions asked pretty frequently like which stock or which ETF would be best for me to invest into. Of course, the obvious answer to that is it's going to depend on a various amount of things such as an investor's risk tolerance, their overall strategy when it comes to investing, their timeline, their age, etc., etc. But still, it does bring up a pretty interesting topic that I want to explore in today's video. The topic being knowing what I know now as a 7-figure dividend growth investor that currently has over $1 million invested and earning, as you can see right here, over $6,000 on a monthly basis in dividend income. If I were to have $10,000 to invest in the stock market, starting today, knowing what I know now, which stocks or ETFs would I invest into and why? And we're going to explore exactly this on today's video. Now, if you're interested in building out a long-term dividend growth portfolio, you're definitely going to get some value from this video. So stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. Now, before we go into the exact different stocks and or ETFs that I would purchase if I were to start investing today with $10,000 invested, let's first lay down some groundwork. For me personally, as you can see right here, I personally own several different dividend paying stocks and ETFs across my various dividend portfolios. Now, my overall strategy as a 31-year-old dividend growth investor is pretty simple. I like to invest into different dividend-paying stocks and ETFs that have the potential to also grow in share or ETF price over time, and also have a likelihood of raising their dividends along the way. Now, there are some names within my portfolio that don't necessarily have the potential to raise dividends, for example, and or even grow all that much in price, but that's because for me personally, I'm looking to use some or if not all this dividend income within probably the next 5 or 10 years of my investing journey to start using for bills or travel, or just to utilize some extra money coming in regardless. Because side note, as of right now, I'm currently reinvesting every single penny of my dividend income on a monthly basis, and I hope to continue to do that for a while here. But if I were to choose exactly how to build out a $10,000 portfolio, once again with knowing what I know today, along with what I think would be a perfect strategy for a dividend growth investor that wants not only consistent cash flow from day one, but also wants to see their portfolio grow significantly over time. The first position that I would have make up 1/5 of the portfolio. So side note, we are going to have 5 different positions within this portfolio. The first position, the first $2,000 purchase, would be in the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF or SCHD. Now, the reason I would choose to build out 1/5 of the portfolio in shares of SCHD is because SCHD not only has potential to keep growing over time, considering SCHD has basically tripled in ETF price, but also from day one, SCHD does offer a decent amount of cash flow with a trailing 12-month 3.46% dividend yield. By investing into something like SCHD, investors are not only going to have long-term growth potential as far as having their portfolio grow over time, but are going to get day one cash flow. Not to mention SCHD has had some pretty significant dividend growth historically. Now, dividend growth is basically how much a stock or ETF pays year over year in dividends. And as we can see, for example, SCHD has been paying more and more in dividends pretty consistently since the ETF started back in 2011. Now, what this is going to do, especially with a relatively small amount of money invested, for this example, a $2,000 tranche, this $2,000 investment is going to pay X amount of dividends per year, but hopefully, at least as long as history were to repeat itself, SCHD will continue to pay the investor more and more over time. Now, the next position that I would buy for this portfolio, a $2,000 buy, would be $2,000 of JEPQ or JP Morgan Nasdaq Equity Premium Income ETF. Now, the reason I would purchase some JEPQ for this portfolio, again, knowing what I know now, and if I were to start over, which is $10,000, I'd buy a good amount of JEPQ because not only has JEPQ performed really well over the last year or so, because of the basket of holdings being majority technology stock, but most obviously, JEPQ pays a massive dividend yield, around a 9 or 10% trailing 12-month dividend. So what this means for an investor's portfolio is that they are going to receive a significant amount of cash flow from day one from JEPQ, which they can of course use that money to reinvest into either more JEPQ or whatever different stock or ETF they want to buy. But at least for me specifically, I'd want to have a decent amount of the portfolio paying a high dividend yield because I favor cash flow, even if that means there's going to be a little bit less total return long term. I want to see some cash flow coming in from day one, so therefore I can choose to do whatever I want to do with it. The next position that I would buy for this portfolio, a $2,000 buy, would be $2,000 worth of ticker symbol O or Realty Income. Now, Realty Income, although it is a single stock, Realty Income is one of the largest REITs across the entire market. They own over 13,000 different properties, and it's very, very well diversified. Now, Realty Income, just like SCHD, has not only grown in share price significantly over time, but Realty Income is also offering around a 5.5% forward starting dividend yield. So what's great about realty income and why I would definitely include it in the portfolio, you're not only getting the potential to see your portfolio grow over time because realty income has done so historically, but also realty income pays a dividend on a monthly basis, has continued to pay more and more in dividends as you can see right here. And with that dividend income, once again, you could of course use it for life expenses, or just like me, you could reinvest those dividends into more shares of realty income or into whatever else you want to buy across the market. Now, the next position that I would have in this portfolio, a $2,000 buy, would be DGRW, the Wisdom Tree US Quality Dividend Growth Fund. Now, this is quickly becoming one of my favorite long-term buy and hold ETFs. And this is because Wisdom Tree mocks a lot of what SCHD has to offer, but even offers some better attributes. DGRW has grown consistently over time. Since around 2013, DGRW is basically 3 times an ETF price. Not to mention DGRW has a super high quality basket of holdings, some of the top 10 names being things like Microsoft, Apple, abbvie, Broadcom, Johnson & Johnson, the Home Depot, etc., etc. But with DGRW, you are also getting a large amount of exposure to technology, which means this ETF does have some potential to really grow over time. But it's not only growth when it comes to this ETF, it also offers a 1.7% trailing 12-month dividend yield. So this ETF specifically is not really going to make anyone rich from day one when it comes to cash flow. Although, like I showed you earlier, the growth potential is definitely there. Also, not to mention, DGRW pays a dividend monthly, and just like some of the others, has continued to pay more and more in dividends over the long term. Now, the last slice of this portfolio, the last position, would be none other than ticker symbol VOO, or the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. Now, VOO is an ETF that I definitely wish I would have just bought a lot more when I started investing in around 2017 or so. And this is simply because of the reason that the S&P 500 is basically the gold standard when it comes to investing, and it's very hard to outperform. Now, I get it, VOO is sort of a boring investment considering a lot of new investors like myself back in the day thought it was more fun to buy into specific different stocks. And of course, time would tell that for most of us, that's a big mistake. Also, the fact that VOO only offers around a 1.5% trailing 12-month dividend yield. This ETF, of course, is not going to get you rich when it comes to cash flow. And for us dividend growth investors, a 1.4% dividend yield can be a little bit boring. But because I'm building this portfolio going off of what I know now, I know that VOO is one of the safest investments across the entire market. At least it's been historically, and I know that it's going to outperform most other stocks or ETFs that most of us are going to pick. So for that reason, I'm going to have a 20% position in the overall portfolio of ticker symbol VOO. So there we have it, guys. Those are the 5 positions that I personally would buy if I were to start over building a brand new portfolio, of course, with everything that I know now after around 7 years of investing. Now, the cool thing about investing, and I say this often, is that it's an ongoing project. If you buy into something that maybe isn't the best position, you can always sell it and buy into something a little bit safer. And I personally look at building a long-term dividend-paying portfolio as basically a project that's never ending. It's only evolving as time goes on. But because we're on the topic today of picking 5 different holdings to build out a portfolio worth $10,000, for example, if you were to be able to today, knowing what you know now, build a brand new portfolio worth $10,000, which stocks or ETFs would be in your portfolio? Drop the tickers in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.